Jovan Buha! Buha!
Yo, I'm Jovan Buha, Lakers beat writer for The Athletic, and welcome to another Lakers post-game reaction show. Just got back from my couch here. I did not make the trip to Portland, similar to Luka Doncic and LeBron James and Austin Reeves, and half of the Lakers rotation today did not play against Portland in LA's 109-81 loss that finalized the 2024-25 regular season for LA. They finished 50-32 and earned the number 3 seed after their win over Houston on Friday. But for our purposes today, I am not going to talk about today's game. In full transparency, I was watching today's game with one eye to the left and one eye to the right, watching Clippers Warriors, and ended up shifting my attention in the second half completely to Clippers Warriors because this game for the Lakers was essentially meaningless. It was some reps, some valuable reps for Dalton Knecht, Bronny, and some of the younger guys. Dalton Knecht had 27 points, 8 rebounds, but they got blown out by a Portland team that should be tanking, but the Lakers out tanked them today. And for our purposes, I want to focus on the Lakers' first round matchup, which is going to be against the Minnesota Timberwolves, because the Clippers beat the Warriors in overtime. That was an incredible game. I'm sure some of you or most of you were watching it. That was just shot making, and James Harden, of all people, took over in overtime and was the difference maker there. But some big defensive plays, some big baskets on both sides. But the Clippers outlasted the Warriors, meaning the Warriors will be in the play-in tournament. Clippers will play the Nuggets, and the Lakers will be playing the Timberwolves. So I think looking at the way this all could have gone, the Lakers entered today with 3 possible first-round opponents: Denver, Minnesota, and Golden State. I've said for the past couple of weeks that I think Golden State would be the toughest matchup, not because of recency bias and them just beating the Lakers, but they have been one of the best teams in the league since the Jimmy Butler trade. They also play well small. They play better smaller. And I think for a team to have a shot to beat the Lakers in a playoff series, I think you have to be able to survive small ball minutes. And that's where I look at a team like the Timberwolves or potentially a team like Denver, and I give the Lakers a clear edge in those matchups, where against Golden State, they just out small balled the Lakers in the last matchup. But even in general, I would favor the Lakers in that series, but Golden State can go smaller, play Draymond at the 5, and hold their own to an extent. So I think Golden State losing, dropping to the play-in, and now Jimmy Butler's a bit banged up. We'll see if he's able to go Tuesday for that 7-8 game. Maybe they drop to 8 and then end up playing OKC in round 1. But among the 3 options of Minnesota, Denver, and the Warriors, I think this one is arguably the best. I think Denver has had some life since the Mike Malone firing, and maybe that was just kind of what they needed to have a boost going into the playoffs. And I think the Nuggets Clippers series is going to be a fun 6 or 7 game series that I'm really torn on. I kind of actually favor the Clippers in that one as of right now, but I want to do a little bit more digging into it. But I think the Clippers have been playing awesome basketball, and Ivica Zubac has, I think, become arguably a top 5 center in the league, at least like top 7, top 8. And so I think that they're not going to get destroyed by Jokic necessarily. And then Kawhi, Norm Powell, James Harden, etc. So I think it's going to be a fun one. But of course, we want to focus more on Lakers Timberwolves. And I want to give you guys some opening thoughts on that series right now. Just first thought, I think the Lakers should be the clear favorites. I believe they will be by the betting odds and whatnot. But I'm between 5 and 6. I think my gut's leaning 5. At the same time, I do think on paper Minnesota provides a lot of challenges for the Lakers with their size, with their defense, their 3-point shooting. They become a really good 3-point shooting team, especially over the second half of the season. Multiple role players are shooting around 40%. And I think we've seen sometimes with the Lakers defense that they are willing to concede certain shots, but some tough decisions there with Minnesota and some of their shooters. And I think teams that can space the floor and spread you out a bit have given the Lakers some problems. So First thoughts are I'm leaning Lakers in 6, but I'm open to changing that to Lakers in 5. The interesting thing with this matchup is that among the potential, like all the potential outcomes, right? And we were going over it the last couple of weeks of potential first round opponents. This is the one team the Lakers have not played at full strength post Luka trade. So Golden State, they just played them. The Clippers, they played a couple times. And Denver, they played once. And then Memphis, they just played as well. Minnesota, so if you go back to that game, they last played February 27th. So technically they played post-Luka trade, but no Rudy Gobert, no Julius Randle for Minnesota. Ant gets ejected middle of the third quarter. Lakers are up 15 at that point. Then Minnesota goes on an improbable run and actually gets it to within like a few late in the fourth quarter. And then for the Lakers side, Rui got injured in that game. That was the game where he hurt his knee and then ended up missing about 3 weeks. So a weird game that, like, there are certainly some things we can take away from that game and some positives for the Lakers. And I think it starts with the big three and Minnesota's inability to, I think, especially stop Luka, but to a lesser extent, LeBron and Austin. This will be, I think, a big series for him because guys, if they want to put Jaden McDaniels on Austin, like that is the type of defender that can bother him, a guy that can envelop him. Obviously, I think McDaniels is going to primarily guard Luka, or maybe they go with Ant on Luka and they go with McDaniels on LeBron. But like they have McDaniels, they have Alexander Walker. I think those are the two types of rangy, long, athletic defenders that can give Austin some problems. Now they did, at least with the starting groups, they're probably going to put Mike Conley on Austin to start, and that is a major advantage for Austin in that matchup. But that's just something to watch, is like, depending on how much Austin is killing them, they do have some defensive options, I think, for him in particular. Whereas with LeBron and Luka, those two guys are just too strong that, like, Luka, they have no matchup for. He's going to torture Rudy Gobert. I've talked about that with this talk, last week. But Rudy, I mean, he's going to play Rudy off the floor, I think, in crunch time. And then Naz Reid and Julius Randle have certain limitations defensively. Jaden McDaniels is too slight to guard Luka. We saw that in the conference finals last year. Ant might be the best matchup, but that's asking a lot for him. You're asking him to carry the offense and then also match up with Luka. And then, I mean, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dante DiVincenzo, they're either too slight or too small or both. So Minnesota has a Luka problem, and that is, for me, the driving force behind why I think the Lakers are going to win the series, potentially win it in as few games as 5. But I think how they guard the Lakers and like how they approach that is going to be interesting. From the Lakers side, there is an element here of big versus small. And Minnesota starts big with Gobert and Randle. They play Naz Reid. They have 3 bigs who they play a lot. And one thing I talked about with Sean Davis when we did our first round matchup preview is like, I don't think you can stay big against the Lakers and play 2 bigs. I think you have to downsize and play 1. And I think to some extent, like if we envision a way that that Minnesota wins this series, I think that it's going to partly come down to Julius Randle. And if he can just punish and bully the Lakers inside, I think the Lakers have the wing defenders to match up with him. Rui has done a great job against Julius Randle over the last few years as a post defender and just guarding him. I think LeBron can guard him. I think Vando could guard him, DFS. So I think the Lakers have a lot of guys that they could put on Julius Randle to neutralize him or at least slow him down a little bit. He has been playing well lately. But I think that chess match within the matchups is going to be, for me, the pivot point for Minnesota of, if they can stay big and at least be like net neutral in those minutes or possibly win them, I think the series starts to shift in Minnesota's favor. If the Lakers force Minnesota to downsize and play Gobert off the floor or play their 2 big lineups off the floor, which I think they will, that's where things, I think, decidedly shift in the Lakers' favor. So I think that's going to be the key chess match to watch, is on the interior, like, can they overwhelm the Lakers? They're among the leaders in offensive rebounds. They're among the leaders in points in the paint. Those are 2 areas the Lakers have struggled in a little bit, especially lately as they've been playing progressively smaller and smaller. So that's going to be a big battle there. But then I also think on the perimeter, just how they try to match up with Luka and LeBron and Austin. And I think you can deploy some of their better defenders on Austin to try and maybe just take him out and be like, we're going to let Luka and LeBron do their thing and hope we can kind of get by with that. But I think Luka and LeBron are going to have a field day in this series and both put up really big numbers, especially Luka coming off that conference finals. He does not like Rudy Gobert for a variety of reasons, and I think that's going to be a big part of this series. But first thoughts again, like I think the Lakers have, if they can play Minnesota's bigs off the floor and get them to downsize, and Luka can be the best player by a decent margin in this series, which I think he can be. That's where I think the Lakers win this in 5. If Minnesota can find a way to keep their bigs on the floor, keep their size on the floor, and do a good job protecting the rim, winning the paint battle, winning the rebounding battle, and playing some bully ball with Ant and Julius Randle, like that's where not necessarily bully ball with Ant, though I think they will target Gabe, they will target Austin, they will probably target Luka as well. But it's going to be an interesting, because these teams are like, there are some similarities in a way, but for the most part, they don't play very similarly. Like they're both a little bit slower. They both are high volume 3-point shootings, at least like the post Luka version of the Lakers. But and there's like a general, both teams want to overwhelm you with their power, and the Lakers do it in a smaller, sense, and with smaller lineups. Minnesota does it with just their sheer size, and like looking at that front line, Gobert, Randall, McDaniels, that's a huge front line. That is 3 guys 6'9" and above, and the 7'1", 7'2" guy in Gobert. So like that's a massive front line that is going to test the Lakers on the offensive glass. And the rebounding might ultimately be the biggest thing here, where like the Lakers are going to need to be locked in terms of defensive rebounding, gang rebounding, and how they can hold up on that end could be an X factor for them. But again, kind of going through it, like I think there's a realistic chance the Lakers have 3 of the best 4 players in this series. I think Ant, of course, is capable of being the best player in the series, is capable of being the second best player of the series behind Luka. But beyond Ant, I think Austin has a real case to being the number 4 player. And if the Lakers have the 3 of the 4 best players in a series, they're going to win that series rather handedly. So I think whether Julius Randle or Naz Reid or Jaden McDaniels or Dante DiVincenzo or Mike Conley or Rudy, like whoever, someone on Minnesota needs to step up and make that a real competition. I think Julius Randle and Naz Reid are the 2 most obvious candidates. But if it's like Luka 1, Ant or LeBron 2, the other one 3, and then Austin 4, the Lakers are just going to overwhelm them. Like at some point, the firepower, the shot creation, the playmaking, just the overall talent and skill that they have at the top of the rosters, I think that really leans in the Lakers' favor. If Julius can do what Julius has been doing lately, which he's been doing a good job playmaking out of double teams, attacking mismatches, just looking like the previous all-star version of himself, that's where the matchup, I think, gets a little bit tougher, and maybe that's a 6 or 7 game series. So right now, like first, I'm really happy between 5 and 6. I want to give Minnesota a certain level of respect. This is a group that made the conference finals last year. They, for at least the first like 2 rounds, they look like one of the best defenses we've seen in the modern era, and then they petered off a bit in the conference finals, interestingly against Luka Doncic, and they had no answer against Luka. But I'm going to do a little bit more digging. Minnesota has also been one of the hottest teams in the league now for about the past like month and a half. They have been playing really well. They have had an easier schedule, but that's just something to factor in. Ant has also changed his game. He is a much better pull up and off the dribble 3-point shooter. So that's going to be another factor here with LA and how they're guarding him. I assume they're going to just be switching a lot onto him, but that also lets him dictate some of the matchups and pick on certain guys. I think the other thing is going to be Vando, and because Vando, I think the Lakers are going to need him for his defense on Ant, and also his ability to switch across multiple positions, switch on to Julius, his rebounding, his energy at the same time. as we've seen more recently, as JJ has played a more of a playoff rotation, Vando has become the eighth and sometimes even the ninth guy, depending on the night, and more of like a distant eighth man. And he's rarely playing over like 15, 16 minutes a night. And maybe that changes for this series. And playing him also gives them a hiding spot where if you're playing Vando, you can probably play Rudy Gobert and just have him guard Vando or really not guard Vando and roam. So that's going to be its own chess match here. But I think Vando is by far the best option against Ant. And I think the next closest guy, it's between Rui and DFS, I guess. And I mean, Rui, I think he's actually had some good moments against Ant over the past couple of years. DFS, I just don't think he has the shiftiness and the athleticism to keep up with Ant. I think we've seen when DFS guards guys who are a bit more explosive and athletic and quicker, he can struggle as a point of attack guy in those matchups. So I think Vando, if I'm JJ, I think I try to structure the rotation where I don't know if Vando is going to play more than 15, 16, 18 minutes a night. And if he's not, I try to get those 15, 16, 18 minutes, as many of those minutes against Ant as possible. So I study Minnesota's rotation and look at when is Ant sitting and when is he in. And I haven't had a chance to do that yet, so I can't share that yet. But you study that, and then you those second unit lineups when Ant is out there, that's when you need Vando out there on him. And you just say, Vando, take him out. That's it. And Vando's really good at that, right? So I'm not saying he's going to be able to take out Ant. Ant is a top 10 player. He's capable of looking like a top 5 player on any given night. But I think you simplify things for Vando, and it's like your focus is just guard Ant for 16, 18 minutes a night, do the best job you can. And then the other 18 to 20 minutes, it's by committee switching and maybe some schemes kind of shifting toward Ant and shifting off of some of the bigs or some of the shooters you're kind of okay living with. So those are some preliminary thoughts for me. Again, for those tuning in, no Lakers Blazers, like that game didn't really matter. And to be completely honest, I didn't watch most of it. I was bouncing between Nuggets, Rockets, and Clippers, Warriors, and because those are the two games that really mattered. So Nuggets have been looking better, but we'll see how that first round series goes with the Clippers. Let's get into some Q&A here. First one from Britain. Thank you for the super chat. We know what happened last time Lucas saw Gobert in the playoffs. Mother F, you can't effing guard me. I recommend, I posted a short and also posted on TikTok, posted on X, posted on Instagram, the clip from the episode with Istok about Gobert and Luka and how that was his favorite moment from the tribute. So Lee Baggy, is Hayes touching the floor in the playoffs? Yeah. He's going to start. Now, I think we've seen with the Lakers, especially against bigger teams, they want to go smaller and play the bigs off the floor. So I would suspect Jackson's more of a 15 to 18 minute a night guy in this series, which is it's always counterintuitive to think like when you're playing a bigger team, in theory, you should play bigger, but that's just not how JJ has operated. Maybe that shifts. Maybe they get too overwhelmed with the Minnesota front court size and they end up going more with Jackson. But my early read would be Jackson is kind of in the mid to high teens, and the rest of the time they're going DFS, Rui, LeBron, Vando. Those are the 4 primary front court guys that they're just cycling through. Antonio Rossis, thank you for the question here. The only noteworthy thing to me about the Blazers game is that Alex Len made it even clearer how either Trey or Koloko needs a spot over him. Len was simply putrid. I didn't see all of Len's play. I did see the first quarter, and he fouled out in 14 minutes, I believe. Yeah, I think it is a mistake for the Lakers if they keep him over, but that's the way I mean, they have to make the decision today, and I assume starting him and in the manner that they did, like I don't think you start that guy unless you're keeping him. So certainly could get the notification from Shams at some point that they've waived Len, but as I've been saying over the past couple of weeks, it's been trending toward Len staying on the roster and being on the playoff roster, and that's the way it's looking. Nico Harrison's a burner. Jovan, any update on the meetup? Thank you for the question and reminder here. So looks like based on the poll, it was like about 70% said Thursday, but I posted Tuesday and Thursday. Tomorrow is going to be a prep day. And for me, just diving into the Wolves film and different stuff for playoff preview. Lakers are practicing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and potentially Friday. I think they might be practicing all 4 days. So remember a couple weeks ago, we were talking about, might have been a week ago, we were talking about like, how are they going to approach not even I think it might have been the Houston game. This all blurs together, but they were, there was a question about like, how are they going to approach this week in terms of rest versus rhythm and practicing. And it looks like they might practice all 4 days this week. And I think that is a good thing. I mean, you got to be careful with how hard you're going to practice, but just getting on the court, getting organized offensively and going through your defensive shell and your tactical approach. I think that is important. And I think that's the right call. So I think that's an encouraging sign on the Lakers front, but I'm recording Wednesday night the official Lakers-Timberwolves preview with Cranjis. So we will be going through and having a format. In previous years, we've done one question for each team, one player X factor for each team, one statistical category X factor, and then any miscellaneous thoughts, questions, whatever, and then the series prediction. So I think tentatively that's going to be the format for Wednesday. I'm going to try and get that out Wednesday night. At the latest, it'll be out Thursday morning, but going to be doing a lot of prep going into that podcast and that show. So it was between Tuesday and Thursday. I think it's going to be Thursday. And then after this, I will post a poll with 4 different locations to meet. And then whichever one wins will be the one that we pick for Thursday. So be on the lookout for that for those in the LA area. Dax 8 says, late to the chat, do you like our outlook? I do. I said at the top, I think for me right now, I'm looking Lakers in 5 or 6. I think there's gonna be a bit of a chess match here with the approach of big versus small, and LA is gonna try to get Minnesota to downsize. Minnesota is gonna try to get LA to keep Jackson on the floor, or just overwhelm them with their front court size. So that to me is like the biggest chess match within this series of like who can win that. I'm betting on the Lakers winning that. They've won it recently against Memphis and Houston and OKC and Dallas. They got all those teams to change their 2 big looks, even go centerless, for stretches. So I said this with Sean Davis when we did our matchup breakdown last week. I think Minnesota, their best lineup, in my opinion, is going to be Naz Reid or Julius Randle. I lean Naz Reid with McDaniels, Ant, DiVincenzo, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, because you can switch with players 1 through 4. You could switch across all Lakers perimeter guys, and then having Naz Reid as a guy who could space the floor, good rebounder, and just I think brings a certain level of like physicality and force that to me is probably their best lineup. Randall, I think Lakers will test him defensively. Gobert, Lakers will test him defensively, and the spacing concerns there. So I think the Lakers are probably going to force Minnesota to go smaller and try to have their perimeter players outplay the Lakers perimeter players. And one side has Luka, LeBron, and Austin. One side just has Ant. So I lean the Lakers side. Felipe Forner, going to bed listening to you here in Italy. Usually keep me company during breakfast, LOL. Antis scary, but not as Braun and Luka. Lakers in 5. Thank you for the super chat, and I hope you get some good sleep. And yeah, I'm again, I haven't officially made my prediction yet. I'm between 5 and 6. I think you can make a strong case in either direction, but I think the Lakers are going to win this series, and I think. And one thing I haven't talked about yet is the playoff path. So with the projected, obviously 7-8, Jimmy's status could potentially swing that. I actually think I would still favor the Warriors. If Jimmy, for whatever reason, can't go or he's hampered, I would still favor the Warriors at home over the Grizzlies, just based on how the Grizzlies have been playing for 2 months now. But let's just say theoretically Golden State wins, they advance. Memphis wins, they advance. They're the 8 seed. My tentative predictions would be, I think OKC sweeps Memphis. I think Golden State beats Houston in 6. And that's more against Houston than pro Golden State, but it is to some extent also pro Golden State. Like, they've been playing well. I think they're similar to the Lakers for all the reasons I like the Lakers against the Rockets. There are a lot of similar reasons for why I like the Warriors against the Rockets, and they're going to test Şengün and Adams and Van Vliet and Green defensively. They're going to make them have to switch out onto Curry, and you can't play drop coverage against Steph Curry, so that's really going to test Şengün and Adams and their foot speed and their ability to corral on the perimeter. So it's probably going to be a lot of blitzing, trapping, and then 4-on-3, which Draymond Green is in the conversation for best 4-on-3 player in the NBA. So I actually like Golden State to win that series and pull off the upset in the 2-7 if they can earn the 7 seed. And if Jimmy is obviously hampered for the full series, that changes that, and maybe I lean Rockets in 7. But for now, assuming they win on Tuesday and Jimmy can get a little bit of rest before the first round, I'm picking Golden State to beat Houston. And then Lakers in 5 or 6. I keep going back and forth in my head between which one. And then I think Nuggets Clippers is a really tough series to pick. The Clippers have been playing much better than the Nuggets recently. Both teams primarily play like one center, and Zubats has been playing really well this season. I think the Clippers have more firepower on the perimeter, and their defense has been top 5 basically all season. I'm kind of leaning Clippers in 6, but I'm between Nuggets in 7 and Clippers in 6. But I think that's going to be probably the best first round series of these 4. But then looking ahead, based on my projection at least, the Lakers would be playing the Warriors in round 2 and have home court advantage. So because they got the 3 seed, they would have home court advantage in the first 2 rounds, which I think would be huge for LA and their path to getting to the conference finals. So whether it's Houston or Golden State, I still would favor the Lakers in round 2. I think Houston's a little bit tougher in the sense of just not having home court, but I think they're an easier matchup for LA than Golden State. So in terms of toughness, I still lean like Golden State being the overall tougher matchup, but I think the Lakers have a really nice path right now to the conference finals. And who knows, maybe the Clippers or the Nuggets can take out the Thunder in round 2, and then the Lakers have home court in the conference finals, and they have home court all the way to the finals. So I don't get a little ahead of ourselves here, but just looking at the path, like I think it is breaking fairly in the Lakers' favor. Whereas the other way, I think the tougher path would have potentially been the Warriors in round 1. If I think the Clippers would have gotten 7 and beaten Memphis in the 7-8, I would have picked the Clippers as well over the Rockets. Then feels like Warriors, Clippers, Thunder. I think that's tougher than Wolves, Warriors, Thunder. So, pretty close there overall, but I think this was the slightly easier path, which is what, that's what you want going into the conference finals. Tom, Shout out to Tom, friend of the show. Methinks this will be a big DFS series with no natural ant matchup in the starting group. Do you think they'll move DFS into the starting lineup or have an even shorter lease with Jackson in early first quarter? It's a really good question. I'm with you. I think the Lakers are going to lean heavily into the Rui, DFS, LeBron, Austin, Luka lineup. I think it's going to be similar to the Dallas game where you see those guys all in like the mid 30s in terms of minutes, like low to mid 30s. I think that's going to be really throughout the playoffs, the 5-man unit that they lean into and just the 5 guys they play the most. But like I could really see that in this series, DFS with his ability to front guys, his ability to help sandwich and gang rebound, just his versatility defensively, and then offensively, the ability to pick and pop and try to attack Rudy Gobert or Julius Randle or Naz Reid. I think DFS is going to be an instrumental part of the rotation. I wouldn't be shocked. I think JJ is going to be creative in the playoffs, and I would not be surprised if he gets a little funky and a little wonky with some of the things. I think they will start with Jackson, but if Jackson is just struggling and whether it's foul trouble or boxing out or defensive rotations, or he's, because Minnesota is so good at protecting the rim in their interior defense, maybe he's not getting the lobs or he's getting stripped or whatever, like in traffic. I could see JJ having a shorter leash, or potentially going to DFS as the starter. But it feels like that's similar to the death lineup with Golden State, and that's become basically the Lakers version of the death lineup. I think that's something that's more of like a game 4, game 5, game 6 adjustment, depending on how the series is going, and more of like your reverse Uno card, right? Or like your big move to seal the series, to swing the series. I don't think that's a move that he necessarily goes to in game 1 or game 2. Now, if the Lakers get blown out, if they lose game 1 at home by 20 and Jackson's rough, maybe there's like a quick pull and it's like, okay, this was something we wanted to do later in the series. Let's do it earlier. But I think tentatively, assuming the Lakers, like Jackson can hold his own to an extent, which I think he should be able to, I think it's more likely Jackson's just like the placeholder starter playing 14 to 18 minutes a night. And then the rest is Vando, Rui, DFS, LeBron at the 5, depending on the matchups. But it is going to be a big DFS series. And I don't think he's going to pull the plug yet, but I would not be surprised if Jackson's minutes fluctuate a bit, and there are going to be some nights or some matchups where they're pretty low. But I think, as we've seen, like they've stuck with Jackson. So I think they want to start it relatively conventionally, but most nights it's 3 minutes into the game, DFS is coming in. So I don't see why that would change. Felipe, thank you for the super chat. Can you try and get McMahon for a series preview? Good question. I'm going to assume not. Obviously, he came on to promote his book, Wonder Boy. The person I'm actually looking to get on for a preview for next week is John Krasinski of The Athletic. Timberwolves beat writer, does a great job covering the Timberwolves, and knows that organization as well as anybody. And I think he would be a fun person to have on, and we could riff back and forth and also get like an in-depth look at the Timberwolves perspective on the series. He'll be covering practices and at every game and everything. So I think it's sometimes good to hear about the other side and how they view it, and what Timberwolves fans are talking about with this series. So I think that's probably the second episode for next week. I'm trying to get Krasinski on. Ricky Burt, thank you for the super chat. A bit off topic, but the Luka trade makes all of Pelinka's previous acquisitions look savvy. DFS, Rui, even Gabe. Yeah, I mean, I think that says more about Luka than it does Pelinka, to be completely honest, of just like how special Luka is and how he can supercharge like floor spacing role players, which I think DFS, Rui, and Gabe all are. But I mean, yeah, like it makes everything. It washes away any prior sins with some of the player options for minimum guys or holding on to certain players and not making certain moves. I think it all got washed away with the Luka trade. But yeah, I mean, I that's also where, like, I think in general there's been this notion out there that the Lakers don't have a Luka friendly roster, and sure, there's some things that like were Lively and Gafford like the two best bigs to have with Luka, arguably. Like realistically, of course, you could Jokic or Embiid or whatever, but like among like realistic centers and actual like basketball fit, rim protection, rim running, yes, those were like two from a fit perspective, ideal types of centers to put with Luka, and then a certain level of playmaking and shooting. But the Lakers have the playmaking and the shooting, and they have the center in Jackson. Obviously, he's been a little bit up and down lately, but I think the Lakers have a pretty Luka friendly roster, and that's also a testament to Luka and how low the bar is to have a Luka friendly roster because he can just do so many things offensively. But I think I'm with you though that like everything looks better in retrospect now that they have Luka. I think that's a fair assessment. Shibugan, thank you for the super chat. Any news on two-way conversions? Streets say Len was ass. Well, I mean, you could have been here a couple months ago when I was saying that, right when they made the signing. The latest I've heard is it's just status quo of keeping the roster as is. Obviously, there's a chance that something changes here, but checking Twitter quickly. Yeah, I don't think anything has changed. So, yeah, I think Len, it's gonna be Len staying on the team most likely. Peter, I don't see a question, but thank you for the super chat. And then Norma, aka my mom. Hi, Jovan and Daytime Gang. Love mom and dad. Buha. Shout out to you guys. Love you guys. And Daytime Gang, but it's always the late night gang. It's always 2 a.m. somewhere, right? It's always 5 p.m. somewhere. It's always 2 a.m. somewhere. But shout out to you guys. Love you guys. And Flash Hawk, thank you for the super chat. Excited to see how the Lakers lock on D now with no back-to-back games. They should have plenty of energy to bring it on that end of the floor. That's a really good point, and that is the side of the floor that I am most interested in to see with LA, because I think offensively they've been trending in the right direction for a while. I've consistently said that despite the numbers being what they've been, I've not been discouraged by the Lakers offense. Like, sometimes the shot making can be inconsistent. Sometimes the offensive organization can be subpar, but you have Luka, LeBron, and Austin, and those guys, I think, especially in like we saw it today with the Clippers Warriors game, right? It became, you knew Steph was likely going to get the ball, or they were going to run an action to make you think Steph was going to get the ball. And then maybe Jimmy would flash to the middle, or there was some type of like decoy counter to that. But the base of the Warriors offense was, how can we get Steph a shot? With the Clippers, it was a lot of ISO with James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, and you knew the ball was going to one of those two guys. Like, that is playoff basketball. Playoff basketball, it slows down. It becomes about running the clock out, especially in crunch time to an extent, and just who can create the better shot between the stars, between the high level shot creators and shot makers on both sides. So I trust the Lakers side basically in any matchup of having a Luka, having a LeBron, having an Austin. So I think the offense is going to be fine. And the role players have all been shooting well. DFS, Rui, Gabe, those guys have all been shooting around 40% on threes. I think that's going to continue. They're going to continue to get good shots. The defense is where I've had more questions. I think there's been some slippage. Certainly from the 20-4 stretch when they were the league's best defense. Then Rui got injured, LeBron got injured, and then we saw some slippage. Those guys came back. There was some rust and lack of rhythm on that side, but it's been much better over the past like couple weeks. I think it really started with that Houston game, but we saw in OKC, we saw it against Dallas. We've seen these high, against Houston, these high level stretches of defense. And for me, again, I think the Lakers are going to be a top 3 top 5 offense in the playoffs, but whether they can be a top 5 defense or like the 10th best defense, the 12th best defense, that to me is going to determine their ceiling. If they could be top 5 on both sides of the ball, or at least like top 6, top 7, I think that's where conference finals championship is in play. If the defense is subpar and they're, again, out of the 16 teams, 10th best defense, 11th best defense, 12th best defense, that's where like the offense has to be at league best, playoff best level to really compensate for that, or offset it. So I think the defensive side is going to be my biggest question overall, of like, if the Lakers can get back to that level of defense consistently, they're a real, they have a real chance to come out of the West. They have a real chance to win a championship. If it's up and down and a little bit more middle of the pack, that's where the offense is going to have to save them. So in terms of your point here, like, I think it should be better. It should be more consistent, and having no back-to-backs, having a little bit more flexibility is where that's at. Notorious CRG, take this $2 and the $2 from Skipped SC, get a battery. I think something's going on with my wife and our dog. I'm not sure what's. I don't think it's our battery, but the fire alarm. Jamal, thank you for the super chat. Great job informing the season. I trust JJ over Finch, 2 smartest players in every series. Lakers in 6 until Celts in 6. That is kind of where I'm trending right now. And I know Laker fans don't want to hear Celtics beating the Lakers in the finals, but I am getting very close to picking the Lakers to come out of the West. I don't know if I can get to picking the Lakers over the Celtics, because I think the Celtics are tailor-made to beating the Lakers in a 7-game series of just like what I think the kryptonite for the Lakers would be, is a team like the Celtics that can both switch and protect the rim, and also has its own couple of stars that can match the Lakers offensively. But I'm kind of with you, where I'm trending towards Lakers in the finals. I just think if it's I think if it's Cavs, I would pick the Lakers. If it's Celtics, I would lean Celtics, as heart-wrenching as that would be for Laker fans. Peter, here you go. Minnesota in 6, top 10 in offense and defense, 3rd best record since March 1st. Luka doesn't have the same bigs he had in Dallas. JM shuts down Reeves. Okay. Peter coming in with the I don't know I forget if you're a Minnesota fan. I know there was recently a Minnesota fan who did a super chat and a comment about why they think Minnesota would beat the Lakers. Top 10 in offense and defense is legit. 3rd best record since March 1st. That is legit. Luka doesn't have same bigs he had in Dallas. No, Gafford and Lively are both better than Jackson Hayes. The difference I would say is that Rui and DFS give them more of a like 2022 Mavericks vibe, in terms of like, that was a group that went smaller with Maxey or DFS, and they played a lot of 5-out, played a lot of small ball, spacing the floor, centerless basketball. I think that's more in line with how the Lakers are going to approach it. So if you want to just compare Jackson to Lively and Gafford, yes, those two guys are better than Jackson Hayes. However, if you want to compare DFS and Rui and their potential impact, I think that's a lot closer to even. And there is even a scenario in which those guys are better or more impactful overall. Like Lively was really good in the playoff run, so I don't want to discount Lively. Like I think there's a chance that DFS and Rui just can't match what Lively was doing for a lot of that run. But I think if you want to just judge it on Jackson, sure, you can make that case that it's not the same. But I think when you factor in LeBron at the 5, or Rui at the 5, or DFS at the 5, I think it's a lot closer. But I disagree with your take on who's going to win. Now, the other last thing here, you said Jaden McDaniels shuts down Reeves. I agree. I think Jaden McDaniels is, if you're designing the type of wing defender to put on Austin Reeves, I'd want a 6'8", 6'9", rangy athletic guy who can get into him. And we've seen at times Austin has had some struggles against Minnesota, Nickeil Alexander-Walker type, Jaden McDaniels type, like in terms of turnovers, deflections, all that stuff. But if you're putting Jaden McDaniels on Austin, One, I guess it is battery. You guys are right. It sounded like my wife was saying Henry, which is our dog's name, but it keeps saying low battery. So I do have to address the battery. Jaden McDaniels, if you're putting him on Austin, who's guarding Luka? Who's guarding LeBron? Like, are you putting Julius Randle on LeBron? I think that's a mismatch. Are you putting Ant on Luka? Like, that's expending a lot of energy. And even then, he is a couple inches shorter than Luka and is giving up, what, 20, 30, 40 pounds, that depending on, I don't know off the top of my head how big Ant is in terms of, is he 210, 215, 220, somewhere in there. So that, like, I think you could take out Austin or try to take out Austin, but then Luka and LeBron are going to cook. So I still lean Lakers, but I appreciate the super chat. Keem, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate the great content, Jovan. I appreciate you, and I thank you for the super chat. James Cook, Buha, it's Jimmy Cooks from Australia. How's the LBJ handshake investigation going? It would show long-term chemistry. I was not at the game in Portland today, so I don't have an update. I believe they were not either, so no update there, but I promise I will get you an update on that at some point. Whoops. Uncanny Suit 97. Luka's averaged 32 against the Wolves this year. Yeah, I think it's a really good Luka matchup. Art of War says Nas Reed or Randall will be on Braun. That could be a pivot point where I will say, like, Braun's burst looked better against Dallas, and he was able to take Gafford, especially off the dribble, but even AD and Lively a bit. I think his ability to take those guys off the dribble in terms of Nas and Randall will be a bit of a swing factor, because if those guys can stay in front of LeBron and beat him to spots, and he can't really bully them. Like, he can because he's LeBron and he's so strong, but like, he doesn't really have much. I mean, Randall's a beast, right? Randall's really strong. Nas Reed, like, maybe LeBron's just overall like power and quickness can kind of generate some momentum in those post-ups, but like, I don't think he has a big strength advantage, if any, over those two guys. Again, maybe slight over Nas, but Julius Randle is built like a tank. So I think it's going to have to be the speed and the burst. And I think LeBron, especially in the playoffs, with a little bit more rest in between games, should be able to do that. Or it's got to be the jumpers just on fire. And the jumper has looked a bit better more recently after, I think, a little bit of a lull there coming off the injury. So we'll see. I think this is a big matchup, though, is if Nas Reed and Randall can hold their own against LeBron to an extent, because then that allows Minnesota to stay big. CG, Jaylen Brown is hurt. LA has a shot versus Celtics. Thank you for the super chat. That is a good point. Jaylen Brown has been dealing with an injury, and in that case, though, I would say then Cleveland has a better shot to beat Boston. And then if Cleveland beats Boston, I think the Lakers could beat Cleveland. So by no means am I saying the Lakers don't have a shot to beat Boston. I just think on paper and partly based on the last matchup and seeing what that looks like, I would favor Boston. Dax 8, April 13th, 2016, Kobe's last game. Respect. Good. Thank you for the super chat. Good recall there. That was one of the my favorite games I've ever attended. I've shared this story before, but I was at Fox Sports at the time. I was in a dual writer/editor role, and because of how crazy the media presence was there, I got moved up to the press box, which is above the 300 section. For those who have been to crypto staples, it's the 100s, it's the 200s, it's the 300s. Then it's the press box is above that. So it's the literal highest point that you can watch a game in the building. And to be completely honest, I was like a bit bummed when I saw my seating assignment, because I was used to sitting in the 100 section or at worst kind of sitting in the Radio Row area. And that was just obviously not going to happen with like hundreds of media members. It was like a game 7 of the finals, honestly. You had all the celebrities there, and it was just a wild scene, Kobe's final game. But sitting there, it ended up being like one of the most special, if not the most special, like viewing experiences for me, because I got to see everyone's reaction in the entire arena to every Kobe shot down the stretch there. And as it kept going up, like, okay, he's going to get 40. Okay, 45. Okay, 50. Okay, 55. Okay, 60. And it was just like the crowd's going wild. The press box is going wild. And it stopped being about Lakers Jazz. It stopped being about like anything else. It was just about Kobe and like what he was doing. And this guy's going out shooting and making and dropping 60. And it was an incredible send-off for one of the greatest players of all time. Obviously, the Lakers legend, arguably the greatest Laker of all time. So that was one of those games I will never forget. Let's see. We others. Thank you for the super chat. So you pick Lakers over Cavs. Why Lakers over B? Lakers over Cavs. So I'm not saying I would pick Lakers over Cavs. I think that would be a tough series. I think what has changed with that series is I think Luka, and I think he has 2 guys he can mismatch hunt against in Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. And Cleveland has 4 all-star level guys. They have 3 all-NBA candidates. And really Jared Allen, like, I don't think people are talking about him in that context, but you look at a lot of his advanced metrics and just like how important he is to that team. He should be more in that conversation. I don't think he will be, but like you could make that case for Jared Allen. So they have 4 like legit high-end all-star guys. I think a lot of people are going to be voting for Donovan Mitchell for 5th on MVP, 5th in first team All-NBA, but like Evan Mobley, I think has a pretty strong case as well. So Cleveland has legit top-end talent. They've been a juggernaut this season. When it comes down to it, though, I think they sometimes in the playoffs, or oftentimes in the playoffs, I would argue, it's about weaknesses and entry points into your defense. And the Lakers have some entry points into their defense, so I'm not going to act like they don't. But Luka and LeBron can pick on Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, and there's only so much Cleveland could do about that. And even if it's like a Max Strus, it depends how, like, they're going to need to lean on a lot of DeAndre Hunter, and I like DeAndre Hunter. But I wonder, like, that's another one where can they get Cleveland to downsize to them to match them, where they're testing Allen and just like the ground he has to cover against Rui, against DFS, and like, or is it like a couple of the matchups earlier in the season where they're just overwhelming them with their size in the front line and like their athleticism in the front line? So I by no means am I saying the Lakers would beat Cleveland. I just like their odds against Cleveland better. And I would maybe, like, I would have to break it down a little bit more to ultimately decide which way I would go. But I think they have a much better chance against Cleveland than against Boston, in my opinion. And I would consider picking them over Cleveland. Jeremiah, thank you for the super chat. We rooting Memphis win Tuesday. Great season, y'all. I would say yeah. I'm also waiting for your top 5 question, Jeremiah. I would say yeah, just because at that point, if Memphis wins, it's Memphis Houston. I would pick Houston, and I think Houston is an easier matchup for the Lakers than the Warriors, despite LA not having home court in that series. But so it eliminates the Lakers from playing the Warriors until at least the conference finals. And in that case, it would have been Golden State beating Oklahoma City in round 1. So I think it's twofold here. Going from potentially playing Memphis to playing Golden State for OKC in round 1, I think is a disaster. I would pick OKC to win the series, but I think Golden State could push that to 6 or 7. I think that would be a tough series. And that compared to, I said, I think OKC would sweep Memphis. Like that's a big gap there in terms of like testing OKC early and potentially pulling off an upset. Like I don't, again, I would pick OKC, but like if you told me Golden State won that series, I don't think it would be like the craziest thing in the world. I think they'd have a puncher's chance to winning it. And then again, Houston gets the easier series, and they're maybe a little bit more rested. But I like how the Lakers match up with Houston more. I thought today, like I don't want to overreact to today either, but I thought it was a little bit confirmation for me of like Houston decided to play their guys against Denver, and they got blown out. And I don't. Maybe they weren't approaching it like game one of the playoffs or like how the Clippers and Warriors were approaching it, but like they were trying, they wanted to win the game, and Denver just destroyed them. And I just think Houston is a nice regular season story, and Ime Udoka deserves a lot of credit and deserves to be on Coach of the Year ballots. But I just think whether it was playing the Clippers, playing the Timberwolves, playing the Warriors, I think all three of those teams would beat Houston in round one, and I think they're going to be a first round upset. Jeremiah, my bad, LOL. Your top 5 favorite NBA signature moves. Thank you for the super chat. Top 5 favorite signature moves. First one that comes to mind is the LeBron look away when he looks down or kind of to the side, and then he takes the step back 3. And it's funny because you know it's coming. He does the look away. You then 100% know it's coming, and you still can't stop it, and he still makes it. So that is one that comes to mind. I think, gotta say that the Dream Shake is up there. Like that is one of the best post moves of all time with Hakeem and his footwork. With Kobe, I would say the pull up jumper, pull up fadeaway. And sometimes it would be like stopping on a dime and like a head fake. Defender goes up and he just needs them to go up for a second. And then he's creating separation and making that shot. I think him hitting that against the Suns in 2006 immediately comes to mind as one of the best moves. With AI, I got to say the crossover, and of course the crossover on Jordan. Unfortunately for 8-year-old me, the crossover over Ty Lue, but Lakers ended up winning the series in 5, so it was okay. But I would say that, and then probably Dirk, the Dirk post fadeaway. There's just nothing you could do, and that was a shot that like I loved as a high schooler and tried to replicate a bit. I know Laker fans aren't going to like this one, but another one in the mix for me is the Sambor shuffle. I know that is tortured Laker fans the last couple of years, but as a Serbian and a Jokic guy, like I respect the shot, and it's a really tough one. Let's see, Jason says Tim Duncan bank shot. Pugzilla says Jay crossover shake and bake. Sean D, I thought Sean D said Draymond choked so hard in that layup. I thought you were about to say Draymond choking someone, so it was a signature move. Eric Day and Skyhook. Skyhook's above my time, but I respect it, of course. Gene, Lucas step back. That's another one. The Dirk, Tim Hardaway crossover, Jordan post fade, a lot of good ones. JM ball, Kyrie sidestep, Game 7, 2016. Neljo Oksan, Lakers won't see Thunder, Nuggets, or Clippers until conference finals. I think that's big. I think if I were ranking the toughest matchups for the Lakers, the 3 toughest would be the Thunder, the Warriors, and the Clippers. And 2 of those teams are on the opposite side of the bracket. And Denver, if Denver gets right, Denver's not a picnic either. So Denver and the Clippers fighting that out, I think, again, that's going to be the most fun first round series. Almighty push Curry, look away 3. That's a really good one. JF says, whatever the fuck Steph does. ZJ, you know what? Shaq drop step. That's a good one. Like, I guess when you say signature move, I was thinking more of like, I almost, with a move, I kind of associate some type of dribbling to that. And Shaq, there would be times he would just immediately catch you in the post, drop step, and just embarrass you. So Shaq, the more I think about it, Shaq, LeBron, Kobe, Jokic, and then I'm between Luka and Steph. Like the Steph look away 3s are just like, you know, he rarely looks away and it doesn't go in. Like when he looks away, he knows it's going in, and it's just ridiculous. But there's so many. I see. I ignited the chat with the Draymond. Los Angeles Lakers inspector Zubac, Serbia. No, he's Croatian. Walter White says Alex Len floater. Brian Frederick, thank you for the super chat. The skyhook is the most iconic move of all time. Nothing is even close. Not having him in the top 5 is your worst take ever. That's fair. That's fair. It was asked. Now let's be clear here. I was not asked the best 5. I was asked my favorite 5. So that there's a distinction. If I was ranking the top 5 moves of all time or top 5 most unstoppable moves, Kareem's skyhook is number 1. I 100% agree with you. He's asking for my 5, and admittedly, I was born in 92, so I completely missed all of Hakeem. Kareem's. I just had the dream shake in my head. I missed all of Kareem's career. Now I do have him in my top 3 all time. I respect the legendary status, so I understand. I understand your take here, but again, best 5 versus my favorite 5, 2 different things. So I would argue my top 5 can't be wrong, but if it is best 5, I agree. Skyhook's number 1. Tai, thank you for super chat. Only worry is LeBron's health bracket is ideal. Yeah. I mean, again, really the only way the bracket could get any better is if Golden State loses to Memphis and Memphis is 7. And then I think it's like Minnesota, Houston. I think the Lakers are going to the conference finals. Like at this point, I am picking the Lakers to go to the conference finals. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to have a better bracket. Really, the only thing is LeBron's health. I would argue the top 8's, top 7's health. Like I think they need pretty much all 7 of those guys. At least the top 6 or like the 5-man death lineup. Those keep whittling it down. I'd say the 5-man death lineup. Now Jackson going down would be tough just because it's potentially Alex Len, and like I don't know how you get by in that case. You just, I guess, go small the whole time. But yeah, LeBron's health, but Luka's health, Austin's health, Rui's health, DFS's health. I think all those guys. Los Angeles Lakers inspector asked Jovan, are you excited to see Jokic versus Zubac? It will feed families. Yes, that's going to be a really fun matchup. You know, I covered that in 2020, and that was the 3-1 comeback from Denver, and they had no answer for Jokic. I think they will have a little bit more of an answer for him. He's also a much better player than in 2020, so maybe that offsets that. But Chris Dunn is going to guard Jamal Murray, and I assume Denver is going to spam. It's going to be Zubac and Dunn on Murray and Jokic, and the Nuggets are going to spam that action. Kawhi is going to have his hands full defensively with Aaron Gordon in terms of the cutting and the offensive rebounding. I think James Harden, while he's actually a sneaky good post defender for his size and defensive reputation, I think Harden and Powell are a little bit just too small to battle Gordon. So that's going to be a lot on Kawhi. I wonder if at some point they end up putting Kawhi on Murray, similar to the Lakers putting LeBron on Murray, and then just switching that Jokic Murray 2-man action. But that's gonna be a fun series. It's gonna be a really fun series because I don't love the matchup. Like, I guess you put Gordon on Kawhi, but I feel like Kawhi's a little too shifty and quick. We'll see. Then I guess Christian Brown is going to guard Harden, but then that puts maybe Jamal Murray on Powell, and then Michael Porter Jr. is helping off of Chris Dunn. So that there's going to be some interesting cross matching, I think, in that series. And to me, that's on paper going to be the best first round series. I guess maybe Bucks Pacers, but I think it'll be high level. And Knicks Pistons is going to be a literal bloodbath. I think there's going to be some fights in that one. Several hold me backs. Wouldn't be surprised if there's some ejections and maybe even a suspension. I think that's going to be an old school tough series. But I think the two series that are going to be the most fun to watch, in my opinion, are going to be Clippers Nuggets and Pacers Bucks. I could see both those series going 7. Anthony D says Jemison Kareem Skyhook. You know what? That is rising up the ranks for me. Brian, thank you for super chat again. No worries, Jovan. I had to stand up for the GOAT center of all time. You know what? That's fair. He is the GOAT center of all time. Ty still can't believe we have Luka. How's this real? Like the thing about the Luka trade that I continue to think about is like a lot of the talk, and I'm going to be writing about this for The Athletic. A lot of the talk was about the future, right? And it's like the Lakers got the next star, the heir to LeBron. This is the guy for the next decade. Like, you know, they'll get their next star and pair him with Luka. And a lot of talk about the future, but the present is what of course matters right now. And Luka has elevated the Lakers in the present, and I think just taking them to a different level in terms of, if we do the alternate timeline thing with AD, it's hard to separate his current injury with that situation. But let's just say hypothetically that AD doesn't miss as much time, and let's give him Luka's health, right? So misses a few games and then makes his return and is healthy in this alternate universe. I don't know if the Lakers get to the 3 seed. I would contend they probably don't. And I don't think we're talking about them as a legit conference finals championship contender. Maybe. I'm not ruling it out. They were trending upward before the Luka trade, but I just think Luka took their offense and their playoff identity to a different level. And it's allowed for, like, Austin has risen to a different level. I think in part because of, like, Luka has helped with that. I think LeBron has been able to do a little bit less offensively and then do more defensively. And he was already playing good defense at the time, but like it's been even better for stretches. And like they've stumbled on this centerless lineup that is really hard to match up with. So I think there's just elements of this that, and I just think Luka's also a better player than AD, just straight up. So again, I think that the thing that I'm currently thinking about with the Luka trade is it's not just about the future, right? Like the Lakers' future is bright, maybe as bright as any, like outside of Wemby, maybe as bright as anybody in the league. But the present is also very bright. And that's, I think, the underrated element of this trade that I was higher on immediately, but a lot of people were very skeptical of how is it going to fit? There's only one basketball. Is Luka and LeBron, like they're not going to play defense, this and that. And it's like, nah, like they're a legit contender. Ty, based on Luka reaction to being in Dallas in the whole video, made me think he'll go back one day. I understand why you would say that. I don't see him going back as long as Nico Harrison is there, and honestly, as long as the Adelsons and Dumonts own the team. Could be wrong, but that's just my JC with my favorite comments of the evening. Minnesota, Mulgula, Jovan Buha, Lakers in 5. Tricky ways. Smoke. This one might top it. Smoke alarm. Lucky charge. Luka shoots it like a firearm. Lakers in 5. Yes, I apologize for those who are hearing it. I apologize. My fire alarm has been going off this whole time. I hope my place is not burning down right now, but it doesn't seem to be. So. Skull says Wolves in 6. Let me know. I haven't been able to catch everyone's prediction, so let me know in the chat what your prediction is. The Nitrify says Jovan, it's a smoke detector, not fire alarm. You're correct. You're correct. I was the last comment said fire alarm, so that I was responding to that. But you are technically correct. Eric Dane says firearms. Are we playing the Grizzlies? Let me know what you guys think in the chat. So we got Lakers in 5, 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 Lakers in 6, Lakers in 6, Wolves in 6, Lakers in 5, Lakers in 7, Lakers in 5, but every game is close except 1, Lakers in 5. Nick asks Golden State over Houston in round 1. Yes, I'm going Golden State in 6 over Houston, assuming Jimmy is okay. If Jimmy's not okay, I might ultimately lean Houston. Tricky Way says, sorry, I said fire alarm instead of smoke alarm. It's okay. I forgive you. Sam Davison, did you notice the team bonding during that Dallas game? Yes, I talked about this. I don't know if you caught my post-game Lakers Mavericks stream, but I noted that I thought even the OKC game, like those two games back-to-back and literally were back-to-back with it being a back-to-back. I thought the decision to play against OKC, then that being validated by them withstanding some adversity within the game. Remember, like OKC got out to a double-digit lead. The Lakers rallied. They regained the lead. They had the lead when Luka got ejected. Then Luka gets ejected, and that's like this rallying moment for the group of immediately his teammates stand up on his behalf. Everyone to a man says it was ridiculous. It was egregious. They're all upset about it. And sometimes you getting something going against you, some form of adversity, that brings a group together. So I think that was its own bonding experience of like everyone in that locker room felt like they got screwed that night, and they did get screwed that night. That technical got rescinded. It should have been rescinded in the moment. That was the right call in the moment. It was ridiculous. It didn't get overturned, but that happened. And who knows? OKC is a great home team. They go on these runs sometimes in the fourth quarter. They could have still won the game, but we will never know. And all we had was at that point, the Lakers were up by 1 and were playing pretty well. They were playing much better in the second half than they had in the first half. Then the next night, it's the Dallas game, and you see the guys are being supportive. I posted a video of Luka coming out for his warm-up, and then Austin was kind of like egging on the crowd, like playfully and taking a bow and stuff. And like it was a good vibe. Then the video tribute, and everyone supports him, and you see the hug with Keith, the hug with LeBron, and just the guys supporting Luka. Then the actual game, and they're force feeding Luka, that they're letting him do his thing, that they're wanting him to have the big performance, which he has. And then late in the game, when there's the timeout right before Luka gets checked out, during the timeout, they're egging on the crowd, that they're chanting Luka. Then Luka comes out, whole bench, standing ovation, clapping. And then I've talked about the imagery of like, he comes to the bench, he sits, and all of the Lakers players are standing in front of him and like walling him off. And in a way, I thought there was something kind of poetic with that scenery of like, this was like the official moment that Luka had been a Laker for 2 months, but like that was like the passing over moment of, okay, like Dallas is in the past. He's returned. He's had his moment with the crowd. He's had his moment with the fan base. He's had his moment with the city, the organization. That is in the past now. He's officially a Laker. He's been embraced by Lakers organization, Lakers teammates, coaches, staffers, Lakers fans, Lakers community, Lakers nation. And Luka is like, this was the official moment of, okay, Dallas is behind me. So I thought that was like a really powerful bonding moment for the group, and you could just sense it in the locker room. So yeah, no, I thought those 2 days back to back were very, I think, I mean, powerful is the first word that comes to mind, but just very transformative, I think, for this group, to be honest. Brian says Detroit over New York in 6. I like it. That is a spicy one that I like. I'm not a big. I've never been a big Tibbs guy. I feel like his teams have always tended to, like, I respect him, especially as a defensive mind. I think his optimal role would be a defensive, like the defensive coordinator, the number 2 on a staff. Like he does get a certain level of buy-in and overachieving in the regular season, but I feel like his teams have tended to underachieve in the playoffs if you just look at his playoff track record. And I'm picking the Knicks, but I like you going out on a limb and picking the Pistons. I respect it. And I think it's certainly possible that the Pistons pull off that upset. Like Cade Brunson should be the best player in the series, but Cade could be the best player in the series, and that could swing that. Tai, thank you for the super chats. As Luka's habits improve from the trade, lit fire? I think so. I mean, I think he's looked like he's lost some weight. I think certainly there's been the fire lit. I can say that from talking to people around him throughout the past couple of months, and even some of the comments he's talked about. Like, I think, of course, when you have a situation like this, there's a certain level of shock and sadness, and I think we've seen that from Luka. But this is a dude who is petty. He has beef with half the league. He has beef with the Timberwolves. Lakers are about to witness that firsthand. Like, this is a dude who is diabolical and wired a certain way. So make no mistake, like, he wanted to, like, remember the first time they played Dallas was a couple weeks after he made his Lakers debut, and he's talking to the bench, and like, we didn't really see that as much in Dallas, but like, it just took him a couple shots to start talking to the bench and kind of getting back to being Luka. They win that game. Then in Dallas, he drops 45 on them, and like this dude is he's a killer. Let's just say that. So yes, he's certainly has a fire lit under him, and I think long term, this is going to be an amazing thing for his career. Out my brain box 360. I like that. Thank you for the super chat. Growing up, you were a Lakers fan, or did you support your local team? I was a Lakers fan, but I also did support my local team because I'm from LA. So both, I guess, is the answer here. But yes, I grew up a Lakers fan. Kobe, Shaq, three-peat. Still my favorite Laker teams of all time. Brian Frederick, thank you for the super chat. LeBron shot a career best from the free throw line in 2025. I did not know that. I will look at, 78.2% on free throws. It is the highest of his career. The previous high was 78% in 2008, 2009. So 16 years ago. Wow. Jay Spares, thank you for the super chat. Rudy Gobert, Buha's hair. I don't care. Lakers in 6. Love that. Although I hope you do care about my hair a little bit. So you got the flow going in your profile picture. All right. I'm going about 10 more minutes, and this is a real 10 minutes. And this is even a real 10 minutes to me saying it's a real 10 minutes because I have a tax appointment, and my wife will it will not be good if I miss this tax appointment. So got to do my taxes in about 10 minutes and also change this damn smoke detector. Hen L says, did you see the pic of Luka having a beer at a bar yesterday? Do you think that's a big deal because of playoff prep or not really? Not really. I think one like not so secret, I guess, would be like, I think NBA players drink more than you think they do. Despite obviously drinking like not being optimal for the athletic performance and athletic body. Like, these guys are are freaks of nature in terms of their ability to like there's like if you think about it, like they're large humans, they have to eat, they're running multiple miles on a game night. They are expending hundreds, if not thousands of calories throughout the process of a game day. They need to eat a certain amount to recoup that. And depending, on your diet knowledge, like, calories are a bit flexible in terms of like more so over the course of like multiple days or like a week, couple weeks, rather than like, per day. So maybe there's some days where they are just expending too many calories, and then the recovery days it's eating a little bit more or whatever. So point being is like NBA players can drink more than the average person and be okay. So yeah. Brian Frederick, I mean, you're saying it, not me, but he's super chat here says LeBron literally drinks wine on his podcast. Exactly. So, Tommy Gold, Jovan, Gohan, Obi-Wan, Lakers in 5. Love it. So to go back to Hen's thing, I've not seen this Luca beer thing. I also want to make sure it's not AI because there's been a lot of random stuff. It says, all right, Luca in Hermosa drinking a beer. I see one post from Reddit, and he has a hat and sunglasses. I'll show you guys. I mean, I don't. To be clear, I don't care, but for those who hadn't seen it, let's those on YouTube, you can see it now. This is the photo of Luca. This claims it's in Hermosa Beach. I wish there was like another person in the photo for me to confirm that. Like I don't. If there's Lakers security here, I don't see them, and it's like a blurry photo. But yeah, I mean it's not a big deal. Tali Khalifa, Minnesota, Lollapalooza, Jovan Buha, Lakers in 6. Van X says, I think this is old. Yeah, Natalo says, Aura Max, Lakers in 4. You know what? Maybe they will, maybe it's Lakers in 4 now. I'm telling you, like, Luca drinking a beer is not a big deal. Let's. It's okay, Hen. Don't worry about it. Mistra, Jovan Buha, European players are loyal to the team they're on in the present, not to the team that gave up on them. Luca still has loyalty to Madrid because he left on his own terms, and it's LA. Yeah, I mean, I agree with this. I don't. I mean, I said I didn't think Luca was going back to Dallas, so I think we're in agreement here. AJ, is LeBron's groin injury serious? The re-aggravation from last game. JJ said no. Now, we didn't speak to LeBron post-game. My read on that was as he tweeted out later. So I don't think I'm overstepping any boundary here. Like, I think he was not happy with the Isaiah Thomas comment and the backlash about him warming up shirtless. So I don't know how much of that had to do with him not speaking. He has been a little, speaking less, I would say, recently, just in general. That there's been more off nights for LeBron. He typically is pretty good with talking, but yeah. So you guys can hear the beeps. It's pretty loud, huh? Brian, Lakers are not a good road team. I think they win over Minnesota in 5 or 7. Could be a good point. And one thing worth noting is like the Lakers have struggled in Minnesota more recently. They've lost 4 straight games. They did not win a game in Minnesota this year. They did not win a game in Minnesota last year. That has been something of just a tough place for LA to play. Also, it's not a fun travel series. Like, for me as a Delta guy, it it's okay because there's a lot of direct flights LA to Minneapolis, but it's still like a 3.5 hour flight. So compared to like San Francisco or the Clippers or even the Nuggets, like this is one of the further first round matchups for LA. So that is, it's a small thing, but something nonetheless. A-Dub, Lakers seem solid on the road in OKC. It's a good point. It's good good pushback. Jiggin, isn't LeBron in zero dark mode? He has not publicly said that, and he has tweeted recently. So yeah, I mean, to see you guys in the comments, like the Isaiah Thomas thing was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. Just one of the dumbest things. Sam Davison, what day is game one, Saturday or Sunday? I do not know yet. They have not released it. I think it's partly being held up potentially by the plan, but I thought they were supposed to do it today at some point. I'm double checking to make sure. So apparently, quote from JJ today. JJ said it's a very difficult opponent. They played as well as anyone. They present a lot of problems. And he also mentioned that Minnesota is one of 4 teams, along with OKC, Boston, and Cleveland, to be in the top 10 in offensive and defensive ratings. So that's where I kind of lean 6, but certainly I would say this. I lean closer to 5 than 7 if I had to pick between those two. Steve Stevenson, thank you for the super chat. There should be a new rule in the NBA. If you average over 28 in the playoffs, you could drink a beer. If you also average 8 assists, you get 2. Yeah, then Luka would get 2 beers. Kyron says, usually game ones for Lakers have been on Sunday. Good point. Sean Parker, Jovan fan meetup in New York next year. Yeah, let's do it. And again, before I wrap, I'm a couple minutes away from having to wrap here. For those of you who are in LA who want to meet up next week, it looks like it will be on Thursday. I'm going to be putting out 4 destinations, but let me know. Would love to meet up with as many of you next week as possible. Omaris, Jovan, do we have the 2 best players in that mini series? It's a good question. As the battery continues to beep. I think they have the best player in the series. LeBron versus Ant. I'll say I lean yes. Now I with the caveat that like if Ant is the best player in the series, one, I don't think that means Minnesota wins, though I do think it gives them obviously more of a chance. But 2, like Ant is great, and I think he's going to have the ball a certain amount, and like I think with Luka and LeBron and Austin that there is divvying that up a bit, so that might deflate some of those numbers for either Luka or LeBron in that case, compared to an Ant who is going to have the entire offense run through him. But it's close. Like I feel Luka's the best player or going to be the best player in the series. He has fared very well against Minnesota. I think Ant, if LeBron is the second best player, that's where I think it's probably a 5-game series. If Ant can match or surpass him, that's where maybe it's a 6. And then if somehow Austin's the third best player of the series, that Minnesota is getting swept. So there's degrees. But at a minimum, as Jet says here, we have 2 of the top 3 players in the series, 100%. Not even. I would even contend they might have 3 of the top 4 I think Austin versus Julius is I think like over the past 2 months, I think Austin's been the better player, and I would depends how they guard Austin. They could try to take out Austin with Jaden McDaniels, but then that allows other things. Carnell says, I watch all your videos. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. That is humbling. Eric wrote a rap for me. I'm not going to rap this, but I appreciate it. All right. 1 more minute. Stex, are you Serbian, brother? Hello from Serbia. Da. Zdravo. Carnell, this is a great podcast. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. Chaco Thunder says, don't forget to make Randall go right. Good point. And I don't think he could bully Rui and Vando and DFS the same way. LeBron, like, I think they'll be okay. Art of War, Jovan, who will be the X factor for the Lakers throughout the playoffs? I think it's going to be Rui. I think just my honest observation of Rui we've seen him now in 4 playoff series. I think he's had 2 good series. I think the first round series against Memphis and the conference finals against Denver were both good. I think he's had 1 really rough series, which was last year in the first round against Denver. He was averaging around 7 points a game. He was missing wide open threes. He was missing layups. I thought he was really ineffective. And to be completely honest, like I thought because of how bad D'Lo was, Rui kind of flew under the radar of how bad he was in that series. And then I thought the Golden State series, he was okay. Didn't have as big of a role in that series. So point being, like, I think he's had 2 good series, an okay series, and a rough series. So the Rui playoff sample size is a little mixed. I think if Rui can play the way that Rui's been playing for the last few months and be the Rui that he's been, again, basically, I think since the turn of the year, but it maybe even a little bit before then, that is a guy who I think gives the Lakers a certain ceiling as like the number 4 offensively. If he's a bit more up and down, that's where, and not as long, because I think the biggest growth for Rui has been the defensive end and how instrumental he's been defensively within lineups. You see the lineup data defensively for Rui and just his role in the small ball and guarding a Randall, guarding a Jokic, guarding centers. I think he's going to be a big or scoring big men. I think he's going to be a big factor for LA with that. So if Rui kind of turns into a pumpkin and isn't as effective defensively, isn't making shots, isn't rebounding, isn't playing with like the assertiveness and aggression that he's played with the last few months, that I think makes things a little tougher for LA. If Rui's Rui, and I suspect he will be, that's where LA again has the conference final season series ceiling, excuse me. DFS would be another one. Like Gabe's another one. I think like we talked about it before. Like when DFS and Gabe are making shots, it just feels like the Lakers, you can't really guard them. So Gabe would be like a smaller X factor, but I think that there will be games or series where Gabe's averaging like 18 to 22 minutes. And if you compare that to Rui playing like 34 to 36, maybe even 38 minutes some night, just Rui's potential impact is so much greater just in terms of like him playing more. So they're going to need more from Rui than they do from Gabe, and his ability to deliver, I think, will be the biggest thing for LA. Like, of course, everyone is like an X factor to some extent. Like I think the Lakers need everybody to show up and play well, but among their top guys, I think Rui's a swing guy where it's like when Rui is playing well, they're so hard to beat. When he's not playing well, they're more vulnerable. So I think Rui's a big part. RV14, do you think this is a Vando series? I do, especially if they play big. I think you can get away with more Vando. Now, I think with how JJ wants to play, he might not play Vando that much more than he already planned to. But I think Vando, especially with his defense on Ant, could be huge. All right. I've already gone over a few 15 beeps already. I appreciate you all. I'm going to wrap here. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. For those watching on YouTube, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on channel notifications, and like and comment on this video. For those listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice, please be sure to follow, download, and leave a 5-star review. Shout out to the late night gang, technically the late afternoon, early evening gang today, at least in Pacific time. But I appreciate you all listening. I appreciate you all dealing with the fire or smoke detector. I apologize. I will change that. But again, to recap, I think the bracket broke in the Lakers' favor. I think they're well positioned to get to the conference finals. I do expect them to beat Minnesota in 5 or 6 games. I'm tentatively leaning 6. I am going to be going over the film on the last matchup. First 3 games, it's hard to take away much. LA had AD, they had Max, different style of play. But I'll also be looking at some recent Minnesota film of how they've been playing and take notes and come back this week with a couple podcasts breaking it all down. One with Kranjis and one potentially with John Krasinski of The Athletic, who covers the Timberwolves, does a great job. So be on the lookout for that. I will be back, and I'll probably be back during the week with some practice report stuff, some vlogs, some different things. So fun week ahead with playoff content, playoff preview stuff ramping up. And Lakers are the 3 seed. They won 50 games. They will host a game 1 at Crypto.com Arena for the first time since 2012. So a lot to look forward to with the postseason, but that'll do it. I'll talk to you all very soon.